All right, an interview that I thought I would never do, but here we are. Double Fries No Slaw. We are chatting with Garnet the Goldfish and his handler. There's a lot of talk about handlers in recruiting. This is different here. A literal handler, Jack Henyecz. Jack, Garnet, gentlemen, thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us. I mean, Garnet was more excited to do this than I think I was because, he does call the shots. You don't really hear him speak that much, but he is calling all the shots in this. I'm kind of like the dad slash manager, more manager nowadays because he tells me what he wants to do. So
this is pretty epic. Is he usually up this late? I feel like for those that don't know, this will come out in the morning, but like we're up kind of late recording this. Is he usually up this late, or does he keep pretty late hours, or what's the situation here?
So, of course, myself being a college student, Garnet has adopted the college life. I try and, he is pretty young. His birthday is the 29th of this year. So he's young, but he's growing up pretty fast. I think we got back from Wake Forest at like 10:30 at night. And by 11, that was, the weekend of Halloween. There was no practice for the football team the next day. Let's just say that certain players had reached out and said that there might be a house that a couple people would be at, only a couple of them. And, of course, then Garnet said that he'd like to go visit with, the rest of the team and say thank you for bringing him into the locker room. So that night he got back. We probably settled him down, let him get some new water and acclimate. And then probably by about 12 at night, let's just say they went to bed pretty early, though, after that. So did Garnet. He did get to meet a lot of people, but I didn't think that would be the reason why I'd be going to any events like that. But it's strange.
We got introduced to Garnet after the Clemson game, and I think a lot of people were just like, what in the world is going on here? And I don't know if people realize that this would be something that continues to go on, but we'll dispel a rumor. When we got introduced to Garnet at that Clemson game, this is the same fish. This is the same fish that's made it through. People ask about the lifespan of a goldfish. We just talked about it. It's years and years. I think what they're thinking of is like the memory of a goldfish, not the lifespan.
So a goldfish, they say, is a 10-second memory, which can be used for a lot of things in life. Jordan Travis might have almost had or should have had a safety, but 10-second memory, he gets back up.
I love it.
So the goldfish can be used as a metaphor for a lot of ways. But yes, goldfish can live 10 to 15 years. Somehow, my Aunt Anne's fish, which was a fair fish, this is not. He is a purebred, from the pet store himself. But my Aunt Anne's fish, at a fair, just like how the North Florida Fair was here, she had it for about 16 years. I think his name was Veronica. And I don't know how that fish survived because it was in just a little tank, and we saw it every Thanksgiving. But it just was there. And it was probably like that long when I saw it. And I was like, hey, if she can keep that fish going, I can keep this fish going. So when it comes to flights, drives to Clemson, drives to Wake Forest, Garnet is in the hands in a bag or in the hands in a bowl. The bowl's a little bit less convenient, or more like it's a little bit more of a struggle when he travels in the bowl because, of course, the water can slosh around, which if you don't want fish water, dirty fish water isn't the best. As clean as I can keep this water, and we change it roughly every 2 to 3 days, which, depends really on how much he swims and eats. But, he keeps growing, so he keeps asking for more food. I mean, he's got a life of his own now.
How did you think this up? Like, what are you like? Have you always been a goldfish guy? Have you always been a fish guy as opposed to like a cat or dog guy? Which, what's the situation there? And then why make him part of this FSU football like kind of tradition? Like, what started like? So maybe that's two-parted question there.
Oh, no worries. So I grew up not even really fishing. I grew up surfing. And I never have had a pet fish. I grew up with a dog and then a cat once my parents' dog had passed away. But the goldfish really just stemmed from the thought and idea. I have an internship through Red Cup News, which is kind of similar to Barstool, like, same kind of sports entertainment. Yeah. And besides doing interviews for them at tailgates, what's something fun and family-friendly that I could bring to each week. So I thought going into last season, I was going to bring a goldfish to every game, travel to New Orleans, and keep going. However, with my class load during last summer and how close it was and how short notice I had come up with the idea, I was like, it's a little too much of a stretch. I had all like the notes, I kept it like on the back pocket. I was like, okay, we'll keep it in the back burner. and then come back to it if I have the chance for it. So coming into this spring, I was lucky enough to get to be sent up to the Kentucky Derby to go to the infield of the Derby to do interviews. And I was going to bring a date to the Derby. However, she missed the flight. So I was sitting at a bar in Sanford, Florida, about to board the plane with my parents because my parents live not too far away from there. And I said, well, shoot, like I could have brought a goldfish easier. And they had laughed and thought it was funny. And then I said, but no, seriously, like mom and dad, I'm going to bring a goldfish to all the football games next season. And they were like, that's the dumbest idea we've ever heard. You're not going to be able to do that. And it's not going to work. And then from then, I mean, I work at Publix, so I brought the idea up to managers or to friends, that are not even at my work, but just to friends, of course, through Florida State. And everyone was like, I don't know how that's going to work. Like, the fish is going to die. And in theory, if so, like how some other people have said, I were to just leave the fish every time, that could be a way to do it. But the more authentic way has been to travel on a plane with them and then bring water as my checked bag. So I sacrifice a lot of clothing and amenities to bring my goldfish. It's water. That is a very interesting thing, but we take a lot of precautions. Some people wear the same socks each game or the same underwear. I wear the same old dirty shoes as well. I bring a goldfish and we haven't lost. So whatever it takes for Florida State to keep winning, I'm happy to do it. Even the other night, the soccer team had reached out for their first round of the College Cup. They had wanted Garnet to come to the game, and I knew, like, of course, I have to bring them. They're the best team in the nation. They have been the past 4 years. And Garnet now is 1-0 in soccer. So he's never seen Florida State lose a sport. And I think we just got to keep it going that way.
Yeah.
The other part of the question, sorry, you had asked.
Yeah, kind of. Are you like a goldfish guy? Like, are you a fish guy as opposed to like a cat or a dog guy?
So, I mean, not really. I guess now I kind of am, considering I have to
Yeah.
bring Garnet's asked to go everywhere. I am not really known, just Garnet. So any event, I have to bring him. Last night, I was lucky enough to get to attend a dinner that was about branding and whatnot through student athletes. And I mean, I'm standing there with Alfred and his wife, and I'm like, my wildest dreams, I would never think I'd be holding a goldfish in a bag while speaking to our athletic director and his wife and explaining the story to the guest speaker of how I miraculously have carried this goldfish everywhere and also have a tattoo of Norvell at the same time. So there's a lot of elements to unpack in that, but it all really has just stemmed, and the goal was just to grow something that was happy and positive for the university and its sports teams, and I'm just blessed to be a part of it, and I'm so happy that I can even get to be associated with Florida State in this way. So
Yeah.
it's a blast.
You mentioned something that I was going to ask a little bit later, but since you just mentioned it, we'll transition there. This is more about Garnet than you, but we'll ask a question about you on it as well. You do have a tattoo of Mike Norvell. I'll throw this up on the screen so that people can kind of see it. You don't have to take any clothing off right now or anything like that, but I'll just throw it up on the screen. But yeah, let's tell that story real quick.
So my first semester of college was the COVID year, and we were not that good at football, some may say. It was Norvell's first season. It wasn't that a lot wasn't going well, but nothing was supposed to go well when you're coming to a program that's in literal like crumbs and shambles. But with that being said, we are a 24-point underdog to UNC, and along with the help of some of my friends, I had the idea I came up with. And I was like, what if I went to the game and brought a sign that said, if we beat UNC, I'll get a tattoo. Of course, that tattoo being the infamous photo of Norvell with cornrows. When he was in college, he had made a bet to his youth team that he had coached through their outreach program that if they won the football game, he would get cornrows. So I miraculously decided to double down on that and say, well, if we win the game, we'll get a tattoo of his bet that he lost and put that on my leg. So it's a double down loss, or you could say win, because they both have come out to be amazing photos and stories. But going into that game, Florida State was a 24-point underdog. I was just in the student section with the sign. Early into that game, I believe we either went 3 and out, or they only had one first down to start off, and we blocked their punt. And I could just see it from there. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get a tattoo of this, of Norvell. This is how this is going to go. And early into that game, we were up 31. I don't know how much we were up at half, but I know we had a lot of points so little to theirs at half, and they kept chopping at it and cutting the lead down. And it came down to that last drive, and now I'm in the front row of the student section. My name's already been tweeted out, so it's up to the gods now. It's up to the football gods to see whether or not where the story goes. And Mac Brown's team's driving down the field, and I guess we're lucky enough to say they had a couple drops driving. We end up winning the game, and the rest is history. A couple weeks later, I have my first and only tattoo, and a week after that, I'm on the ACC network talking to EJ Manuel. So that in itself, I guess, started the crazy fandom, and now I guess you could say, has peaked or can continue to keep going with the Goldfish. So with that being said, I've done a lot of interesting, or some could say dumb things in the past, but they always tend to work out. So I'm just happy that, it's putting smiles on people's faces. That's all that matters.
That's amazing. So many people say things like that and then they don't end up going through with it. So, hats off to you, because I don't think anybody would have really blamed you. There was a Florida fan that a couple of years ago, I don't know, said something like, if we go 4-8, I'll eat a steaming pile of you know what or whatever, and obviously didn't do it. But I'm glad you didn't tweet that, because that sounds disgusting. But yeah, I feel like most of the time when people make those crazy things. So anyway, shout out to you for getting it done, and yeah, shout out to the Noles for I think we won 3 games that year. So I'm glad that was one of them.
God's a real hope, but
yeah. What you've gotten to meet some cool people. You talked about Alfred. Garnet's gotten to meet Coach Norvell. The whole team, knows him at this point. I mean, he's been to tailgates. He's been on TV. He's met, Kirk. And what are, what's the? I'm sure it's everything that happens, but is there one meeting or moment or? I mean, he's been in the cinematic recaps, and so maybe I'm answering, taking all your answers here. But is there one moment that you just sit back and you're like, yeah, I can't believe that you talked about standing next to Alfred. Just what do you kind of put up at the top at this point?
I definitely think the top has to be Norvell. He might also be in the cinematic recap tonight. I think, informed he potentially was supposed to be. I think it comes out on Mondays at 6:30. So if you guys want to watch the cinematic recap, always feel free to tune into that. Gotta love what the students are putting up at the school.
Yep.
But I think Norvell holding him and saying the word Garnet, yelling that, will forever be the craziest moment. Who knows? Maybe if we can get a game day for the ACC championship game, if they let us have one. I guess nobody wants Florida State to be on there for no reason. We'll never get one, but if we luckily can get a game day, hopefully Garnet will be alongside me if I can kick the field goal. Pat McAfee's kicking challenge. I think I can make it. I played soccer. Nobody makes it because they don't want to have somebody make it. But I think Garnet, the Goldfish, and his handler can make it. So
we'll just have to go to
if we get one.
Yeah, we'll just have to go to Houston.
You're right.
Yeah, they can't keep us off game day if we go to Houston. So
that's the most fitting way for. Right. No game days until Houston because they don't want Florida State to have one. So.
Yeah. Does Norvell know about have you ever conversed with him? Backing up a little bit, have you ever conversed with him about the tattoo?
So after the Miami game last year, one of my good friends, Mackenzie, she worked at Couches. So of course they did the whole coach talk back then, and we had got back to Miami that Monday because we stayed an extra day because you got to enjoy South Florida for after you beat the Hurricanes, you got to enjoy the amenities of South Florida. So we drove back, got into Tallahassee that night, and she was like, "Hey, we got to go to the coach speak. You got to meet him." And I was like, "I don't know. I want it to be if I'm on campus or just I wanted it to kind of be pretty natural." And she was like, "Well, we're going." So we get there, and I'm watching the whole show, and it gets to the end of it. And I'm watching the whole show, and we get to the end of the show, and she yells out, "Coach, you have to come here." And he walks over, and she, of course, is already saying, "Remember the tattoo?" The person who has a tattoo. And I'm like, "Oh, God, here we go." So then Coach Norvell says he starts to realize, "Oh, this is this." His wife's just standing there like, "This is happening." And we got to have a 2 to 5 minute little conversation about it. And, just I was saying thank you for what you've done. And he was just talking a little bit. Our next encounter, of course, being this year, Garnet was involved in this one, was at Clemson. At the start of that game, I was in the top section in the corner, and it was baking up there. And I always thought I was going to die up there. It was that hot. Garnet told me as well. He was like, "We are not sitting up here. We sit in the front row of the student section at the 10, the goal line every game. So we're going to sit there this game." So let's just say Garnet has his ways of sneaking in. I found my way of sneaking in to their lower bowl because they're not connected at Clemson. They're entirely separate things.
It's terrible.
It is not the best fit stadium setup. Beyond that, we get in, go down to the same row. Of course, the cheerleaders there. Some of the families from the team is there. They've known a little bit by then, but Garnet is just now starting to gain traction. And I remember telling my friend Hannah, who I was with, who's in some of the photos on the field as well, may or may not be the person that missed the Derby. It's okay. We're still friends. So she's standing next to me, and I said, "Listen, if we win this game, like, I am going straight on the field, and no matter how quick it is, like, I will be sprinting to Norvell." And we were down for a bit, and with that Deloach play, I could almost not even watch the game. And the Deloach hit the balls out, and it'll be one of the greatest moments I've ever seen. Is just I'm standing on the ledge watching Kalen Deloach run past me at full speed, or he's slowing down by then because we're almost in the end zone. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, like we're gonna win." And of course, the calls don't fall our way. That pass interference should have never been a thing. They get an opportunity to kick the field goal. Garnet, of course, used his magic to look right at him, and the kicker missed. Just as same Keon's catch right into the corner where Garnet was sitting 2 nights ago against Miami, and as well against Clemson. It all feels like a fever dream. Each moment does not feel real. And of course, leading up to that last play when our defense was on 4th down in overtime, I could just see it. The ball went up. It hit the ground once. Before it bounced the second time, I was already on the 50-yard line. And when I got out there, it was before even ESPN had been out there. I ran that quick. And it was Mike Norvell, Dabo Sweeney, Jordan Travis, some state troopers, and Garnet the Goldfish. So, yes, the only reason why Garnet wasn't on the broadcast is because the corners of his bag, because of how hot it was, were dripping. And a state trooper said if I held the fish up one more time, that would be the last time I held that fish.
Okay, so been all over, seen it all, undefeated at this point. I assume, home game in a few days here. Will Garnet make the trip to Gainesville? Will he be in Charlotte and then anywhere else beyond?
So the saying has been just keep swimming, just keep winning. So at this rate, I feel like if I didn't go to Charlotte or Gainesville, I think people would want to send me phone calls or hate mail. And probably that would not be a good move. So, yes, Garnet will indeed be in attendance next week, of course, at home. And he will be traveling to Gainesville, which I'm less worried about than these Miami fans this past weekend because at least Florida has some respect, But with that being said, then he will be at the ACC championship game. We're still trying to save up and fundraise a little bit. They aren't giving us student tickets. It's okay. Garnet will be there no matter what. Beyond that, I mean, this year he already traveled probably over 6,000 miles. He's broken rocks, climbed mountains, survived hurricanes, wildfires, and you name it. Loads of angry Tiger fans from all shapes and sizes between Clemson and LSU. And, of course, the Hurricanes as well. But it's been a heck of a time, and I'm just thankful to get to be a part of it and, cheer on the Seminoles. And this fan base and community means the world to me, and even to get recognized or take photos of every time is just like its first time, or interviews. This feels like the same as when, the first time it ever happens because it is all just surreal. But I really can't thank you enough for having me on as well. But yeah, I can if any other questions you like too. But yeah.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. I'll include links to all of Garnet's social medias down in the description. But Jack, Garnet, I appreciate you guys for hanging out. And yeah, like you said, just keep swimming, just keep winning. I appreciate it, bud. Go Noles.
Guys, so much. Go Noles. We'll see you these next 2 weeks. And as well, for the first time this is coming out. This will be shown on your show. It's an exclusive. It has been in the works. It is official as of now. Garnet the Goldfish will have an officially licensed merchandise shirt through Florida State University and Junkman Doug at Picked. So you can see that soon if you'd like to get one online or in person. All the proceeds are going to go to help, of course, Doug, who is a Florida State alum and Tallahassee local, and as well to get Garnet to the ACC championship game. So thank you guys for all the support, and thank you as well for having me on. I love this podcast and love getting to hear it. So being a part of it doesn't even feel real.
No, good stuff, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Garnet, I guess his last words are, I know Jaden Daniels has done good, but he can't beat Jordan Travis. So Jordan Travis for Heisman. Keon Coleman is him. We'll see you in Charlotte and shock the nation.